Recording is on.
All right, hello everybody. Welcome to the Mirth Connect Core 4.5 webinar. We'll give folks a minute or two here to jump on. Looks like we'll have a full house today.
Say we give it to about 2 after, and then we'll get rolling.
All right, that sounds good. Kevin, can you see the slide, the initial slide one there? Okay. All right.
Look good.
Very good.
All right, another minute, and let's kick off.
Right. Looks like it's 2 after. Why don't we kick things off, Kevin?
Yeah. Great. Hey, welcome to February 2024, everyone. This is the Mirth Connect Core 4.5 release webinar. Kevin Sigafos, the Mirth Product Director. Thanks for attending. And we have a short series of slideware to kick off the session today, scope of the release, where to go for some assistance, a little bit of Mirth program updates I want to share with the group, and then some training and education opportunities that we want to highlight, and then we're going to roll into a Q&A. It's worth noting, hey, we have more Mirth Connect users than ever before, and so many leverage the Mirth community to accelerate their implementation. So I wanted to thank the community for participating as always. Like, it's just great to see this community work together. And us here at NextGen, we remain committed to evangelize interoperability globally. And anyway, thank you for joining. With that, I'm going to hand off to Alan Shelley, our Director of Engineering. And thanks for joining.
All right, thank you, Kevin. Wouldn't say the director, but I'll take the promotion if you're handing them out. Just the engineering manager, Mirth Connect. So over the past several months, the Mirth Connect team have been working on the 4.5 version. This version, really, the theme of it was really around security and third-party libraries. So we went back through our backlog and to take a look at just the third-party libraries that that felt like they were old, that we could upgrade to take care of some of the potential or mitigate some potential risks of some of the CVEs that were attached to some of those libraries. So I'm not going to read all of them, but there was 30 plus of them. Here's some of them that I listed there. Probably missed a few, but you can go through the what's new notes, and we have them listed out there along with all the CVEs that were associated to those, as well as the security libraries. We also had a few items regarding some defects that and known issues that we wanted to address too. One of them related to the port in use button was failing at times. We fixed that. There were some issues with some pre-existing channels with the transformer, with the health data hub model builder. We corrected that. There were some issues with reprocessing attachments when using the attachment manager. We made some fixes in that area, as well as we updated the traditional duo prompt to the universal prompt. So that was a big one. I know that there's some extra steps. Those of you who use that duo, there's some configuration, extra steps that will need to be done. So make sure you read up on that in the notes there. One of the things that was new over the course of this past release was we wanted to try to, knowing that we were doing all these third-party libraries, we definitely wanted to try to get it into the hands of the community early as possible in case there's any type of jar files or the libraries were used in any type of special configurations that you have. So after each month, which equated to about 2 sprints for us, we released a testing partner drop. So just wanted to get your thoughts and feedback related to that. Wanted to see if that was helpful. If that wasn't, if there are any suggestions or improvements that you can make for that process, certainly during our Q&A session, we'd love to hear a little bit about that.
Yeah. Hey, Alan, if I could, I forgot to mention for those in attendance, feel free to submit questions in the chat. We only have maybe a couple more minutes of slideware we want to run through, then we want to just get to those questions. So some submitted in advance, others just feel free to post those in the chat there. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Kevin. Next slide. Where do I get the upgrade? It's on GitHub, on our NextGen Healthcare website. Those are the same places it's always been. And if you're new, it's out there underneath the 4 or 5 headings. If you need to contact customer success team, for any type of upgrade and support, Mirth Connect at sales, and they'll be happy to assist in any way that you need assistance with that. So along with that, Kevin, I'm going to hand it back
just
to you.
A couple program updates. We're launching our Mirth Partner Program in 2024, and it'll be a great resource for those starting their Mirth journey. We have a lot of newbies to the community, and also for the veterans and those in the middle. Hey, just a way to expand the Mirth network as well. We'll continue to provide our Mirth Connect AMI offerings in the AWS marketplace. 4.5 will be available in short order. For those AWS users, always looking to hear some feedback on those offerings, how you're using Mirth Connect and AWS Cloud, and see where we can make that a more improved experience. And then lastly, if you're looking for professional training, Eric Butterfield has joined us, and he's here to provide a quick update on some resources for the Mirth community. So with that, Eric, I know you have a couple slides you want to run through, and then we'll get to our Q&A session for the group.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Kevin. Hi, everyone. My name is Eric Butterfield, and as Kevin mentioned, I'm the head of the Mirth Connect training and certification program here at NextGen. I've been leading this program since way back in its original inception in 2009. So almost 15 years ago, we've been doing this. And some of you out there may already know me. I do see some familiar names on the guest list here today. So hello again. And really what I'm here to do, as Kevin mentioned, is talk about some of the offerings that we have available if you do want to get trained on Mirth Connect, if you're not already familiar with them. So we do currently offer 2 different training courses, the Mirth Connect Fundamental Certification Training course, and then an Advanced Certification Training course as well. Both of these courses are a week long, 5 days total. They each offer 4 days of actual training, and then on the 5th day, which is usually a Friday, we have a certification exam as well. Each day of training usually consists of approximately 6 days of instructor-led training, as well as actual lab hands-on work with using Mirth Connect. So as I mentioned, the courses are instructor-led. They are presented virtually online, so you can attend from anywhere you want, whether you work in an office, whether you work from home. wherever you are in the world. And the courses themselves are a combination of instructor-led lecture as well as hands-on labs. So you'll get real experience during these courses with writing and testing a variety of different types of Mirth Connect channels. We do have a small class size for each session, so we do cap the number of attendees that we have. And this is to ensure that you'll be able to get all of your questions answered, get any help that you need with the coursework from the instructor. We like to keep it small so that we give you that ability to interact with the instructor. Okay. Speaking of which, our instructor team features highly experienced instructors. Everyone that is currently on our training team has at least 10 years of experience using both Mirth Connect as well as just being in the healthcare IT industry in general. So next slide, please. So again, the first of our two courses is the Mirth Connect Fundamentals training. In this course, we start from the very beginning, but quickly ramp up to cover most of Mirth Connect's functionality, including the topics that you see here. And this is going to give you a good understanding of how Mirth Connect works, some common use cases, best practices, and so forth. So as you can see, we do start from the very beginning with an introduction and getting started, getting into channel basics, but then cover a lot of the core functionality of Mirth Connect, such as how to write filters and transformers, look at many of the most commonly used connector types. We do a little bit of basic JavaScript in this course as well, talk about how to process responses, things along those lines. And then there's also a bit about how to actually manage Mirth Connect, how to do things like writing alerts if something's going wrong in your channel, how to configure the settings for Mirth Connect, the backend database, how to add users and things along those lines. So this course is suitable for both those who might be completely new to Mirth Connect, as well as very experienced users, and really everyone in between, I think, is going to find someone or something in this course that's very useful. Next slide. So yeah, there we go. Thanks. Once you've gotten through the fundamentals course, we offer the advanced course. This course goes beyond the basics of what we cover in fundamentals into many of the advanced topics that you may encounter in the real world that require more complex interfaces. The course is much more coding centric than fundamentals, so it's highly recommended that you have a solid programming background and a good understanding of languages like JavaScript and Java. So as you can see from the list of topics there, we start off right away really with getting into how to use Java within Mirth Connect, both things like Mirth's own user API, as well as using external libraries in your channels, how to write and use code templates, and then get into other things like advanced database concepts, velocity, advanced HL7 v2 processing. So if you've ever had the need to do something like split an order message, we teach you little tips and tricks like that. One of the most popular topics that we cover in the advanced course is basically everything HTTP. So how to communicate with SOAP-based web services, REST APIs, which of course are very important in this day and age, how to use the JSON data type and things along those lines. Okay, next slide. So for both courses, you're going to receive course materials that include a lab book, a presentation book, and a programming reference. You'll also get a collection of data that includes things like sample messages, example channels, example scripts, and things along those lines. I did mention before that this is a very hands-on type of course where you will actually be doing writing of your Mirth Connect channels. So to enable this, we provide you access during the course to something known as an Amazon workspace. And this is an in-the-cloud Windows desktop that's pre-configured with essentially everything that you're going to need to develop and test your Mirth Connect channels that are part of those in-class labs. And then finally, you'll also get the certification exam on the final Friday of the course. Next slide. So speaking of that certification exam, again, that Friday will be all about the certification exam. It's going to include a review session, and then you'll be taking 2 different certification exams, a multiple choice exam that basically tests your general knowledge of everything that we discussed in the first 4 days of the course, and then also a practical hands-on exam that will actually test your ability to create channels similar to what we did in the course. And then, of course, if you pass a certification exam, you're going to receive a certificate displaying your certified status, as well as a certified logo that you can use in your LinkedIn profile and your email signature, wherever it is that you might want to display it. Okay. And of course, you'll also receive the bragging rights to call yourself more certified. Next slide. So we do run these public courses on a regular basis, and you can find the schedule of upcoming classes at the link for the website that you see there. That link was included in the email invitation for this webinar, so if you don't have time to jot that down, you can get it from there. And it's basically going to take you to a web page that, again, has a schedule, has a link where you can request a seat, as well as more information about the course. And then finally, I do want to also mention that we offer private courses as well. If, for example, you have several employees that you'd like to get trained at once, we can accommodate a private course, and that can be delivered online just like the normal public courses. But we also offer the ability to have the course in person at your location if you would prefer. Okay, so that's pretty much everything I wanted to talk about. And of course, I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have during the Q&A session that is coming up next. And with that, I'll hand it back to Kevin and Alan. So thank you.
Thanks, Eric. Hey, lots of good info there. Some questions in the program. One, do you need to pass or have done the initial course in order to move into the advanced? Was one question there from Serbinos.
Yeah.
Fundamentals first and then advanced.
Right. We do require the fundamentals course first. You don't necessarily have to pass the certification exam, but we do require fundamentals first, and that's to provide a good groundwork for everything that we are going to be doing in the advanced course. And it also gives you an idea going into those really advanced topics of kind of how the course works in general, how the labs work, and everything that we're going to need for that advanced course. So yeah, again, don't need to necessarily pass the exam, but we do require that you take the fundamentals course first.
Excellent. Thanks for hitting that. I did put in the chat the link. One will make available content in the deck because there's some interesting things in there you want to maybe archive off. Put the link to the training program there for others that are interested. So let's move into the Q&A, Alan. I'm gonna let you and I will kind of lead that. We have a series in the chat here. Maybe any we want to address. I think we have a question around the release notes there from Alice.
Yeah, and also feel free to raise your hand and we can unmute you and we can have a voice-to-voice discussion as well if you don't want to add your comments in there. Let's see, the 4-5 related around the HDH sender, no pointer exception. I'm not quite sure about that one.
Yeah, I can answer that.
Excellent.
Yeah, that sounds like the issue that we were looking at when we fixed that bug, so that should be all fixed now.
All right, very good. Looks like we have a hand raised here. Let me see if I can. John, let me see if I can unmute you here. Allow for your mic. All right, John, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Yeah, So you had asked for some feedback on the test drops earlier in the presentation. And frankly, yes, please keep doing those test drops. Seeing that 4.5 information early was extremely helpful to see and understand what was coming down the pipeline, particularly with the library changes. In my case, it was fairly easy to see, no, none of my custom code is affected, or yes, my custom code is affected. Let me go test it real quick. It was really productive. There's already some good conversation. I believe it's in Slack. It might be GitHub, but probably Slack, around 4.7.0 and your intentions around Java support. And that's another good example of the kind of feedback that comes out with the test drops and with early announcements and early planning. So, as a community member, that was enjoyable to participate in that process. And as a customer, that was helpful for my planning and my work. And there is one improvement. I don't know if it's practical, and it is a little bit niche for some those of us who are really kind of down in the code, is as these test releases are dropped, if there's a branch that we can look at in Git, that would be helpful and interesting to see the code as it's developed. And I think the benefit to NextGen is if you've got more eyes on the code, it's might be able to help spot bugs or other improvements. Of course, the caveat to that, if you're getting randos like me from the community that have improvements and reviewing code, that can be more communication overhead. So set boundaries there as you guys need to. But overall, yes, please do more test drops for 4.6, 4.7. And so forth. That helps the open source community, and it helps your customer base as well. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, good feedback there, John. Appreciate you taking the time and looking at that and providing us with that. Right, looks like we have another hand up, Paul Coyne. Let me see if I can pull off your mic there. All right, Paul, you're.
Just a follow up to John. Test drops are very helpful, but without plugins, it is somewhat difficult to kind of do a full review. Is there any plan to offer plugins for licensed customers and test drops?
We had talked about that early on. Certainly, that's something that we will continue to talk through and see how we can provide those early test drops for those extensions. We'll take a look at that and see, what that would entail. I know that for 4.5 wasn't much of us touching any of the extensions themselves. So you think that was one of the bigger reasons why we didn't think, providing them would be very much beneficial at this point. But certainly we will take that feedback, and as we go through 4.6, and if we identify areas, we'll certainly try to get some test drops of some extensions out there if we feel that's worthy. But fully understand what you're talking about, Paul. Just can't kick the whole tires and get a good feel, because kind of it's only just the core piece of it.
Yeah, an example that might be like we're going to look into Fire R5 next round, likely something in scope for, I think there's a question around roadmap. We're not going to talk about 4.6 roadmap today, but those, I'm pretty sure I'm going to keep that on the list there. Those are things we want to be able to drop, have early visibility for you guys too. There's a question here. I'm not quite sure how to answer it, Alan. I'd love to hear what you think too, or anyone on the team on the phone. Again, on the phone with us and willing to answer questions is the development team. So many of you in the community have relationships, experience. We got the whole team on to make sure you're getting the answers, right? And so feel free to ask the tough questions. One on here is any known issues for 4.5. You want to take like known issues?
Yeah, as far as from our testing, we didn't break anything that currently was working before. We didn't find any regression issues. We didn't have any introduced issues. As far as we know at this point, there are no known new issues out there for 4.5. Like in the beginning, the items that were broken before, if we didn't fix them, they're most likely going to be broken still. So unless we call it specifically out, that's kind of, I guess that's,
Okay.
a good bottom line is no, right?
Yeah.
None that have been
Keith,
identified.
any
as
color you
after-
want to add to that question? I mean, we haven't created no issue. Usually we talk about them as known issues. We've introduced something new that's we didn't address, but I mean, we anyway. Hope we got your question there. Feel free to post if you have any other color commentary on that. Cool. All right.
I think Eric, you took into care of a lot of the training questions.
We had an email question a week or two ago about certifications for Mirth Connect, which we did answer via the email, but in case anyone's curious on the call, the question was about when Connect is going to get certified for cures and various other things. And so in case anyone hadn't heard, we are certified for cures. The latest one we've been officially certified on was the 4.4.2 version, and we are in the process of filing the paperwork for 4.5. So, in case you didn't know, government stuff always requires paperwork. So even though we've released, we're not officially certified on 4.5 until the paperwork comes through. And then once that's done, we will be, if we didn't make any significant changes that will affect that. So it's just a matter of
You can go to the
processing
chapel
time.
site and find 4.4.2 there and 4.5. We'll probably keep it rolling 2 or 3 versions certified.
Yep. So if anyone cares about that, we are certified for cures.
Right, looks like we have a hand up here. I unmuted or I allowed for your mic there. I'm not sure how to pronounce your name, Crawl. So I apologize for that. But if you want to unmute yourself, you can ask a question.
No? Yeah, no, yes, no?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, yeah, perfect, thanks. So my question is, are there any plans for like for easing or enabling the community on the topic of plugin development? Because right now I appear to have taken on the load or that publishing materials for Mirth plugin development, like documentation and some sample plugins. But do you think, are there like any ideas or plans or to have official documentations or samples on how to do different things?
Hey, I like the call out. It has not historically been part. Hey, we are looking into what else specifically for the community, to make it easier, accelerate your adoption, make it just provide more information on maybe how some common plugins. Now you could do so many, but hey, we'll take that back. I've got that down. I'd love to direct that or have that directly answered, in our next webinar, and I'll plan on doing that.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, thanks for that question.
Right. Let's go back to the chat here, trying to see what's left from the questions. Like, feel free to. It's easier for us to answer voice to voice here than to weed through this list of questions. So don't be shy.
Well, I saw one that caught my eye here. I'll respond in the chat, but around any plans to implement a multi-tenant Mirth dashboard. Love the generic name. It's kind of how I refer to it right now as well. So the answer is yes. And those are some of the 2024 exciting things, for the community that we look forward to, in our next webinar, or probably have its own webinar. But yes, that is something we're well down the path of. Good question.
All right, looks like we have Rick. I allowed your microphone there, so you can unmute yourself and ask away.
I put it in the chat. I want a demonstration of how to set up multi-channel use of attachments, and when is it appropriate to use the checkbox delete attachments.
All right. I know that we didn't really have anything prepared at this point. It looks like Nick may have commented on that too, but that's certainly, we can provide and prepare for a little demo next time in a webinar there. We can walk through that as well. Nick, any additional?
Yeah, I mean, I just I commented on the question about the remove attachments. So that's something in your storage settings. You can define, basically how much data you want to store, whether you want to encrypt certain parts of data, and also whether you want to remove data after a message finishes. And that includes the actual message content and also the message attachments. And so there's different checkboxes there depending on whether you want to remove the content on completion and whether you want to remove the attachments on completion. So, obviously by default, they're not checked, which means that after a message finishes processing through your channel, all the data is still there. It's kind of historically, you can go and look in your message browser and see that data there. But there may be cases where you don't want to keep that data after a message processes, maybe after you send it downstream to your aggregation EHR or whatever, then you don't need it in Mirth Connect anymore. And so you can immediately remove that content or attachments from the message itself in Mirth Connect so that it doesn't, grow the size of your database. And so that's one option that you have in your message storage. So, it is, as far as like safety, I mean, it's safe to check that. It's more of a question of your goals and whether you want the ability to view the message content and attachments in the Mirth Connect message browser for all messages. And if you do want to view those, then you want to not check those checkboxes. But if you're okay with removing the attachments on completion of a message, then that's when you want to check them. Another option that you have is the message pruning as well. So instead of immediately removing content or attachments on a message after a message finishes processing, you can basically do that with a delay. And that's what the message pruning allows you to do. And you set this up in the data pruner, which is in your settings view. But you can set it up to prune like every day at midnight, for example. You can prune messages from all your channels. And then on your channel specific settings, you decide how long you want to retain data for. So you can say, okay, I want data, I want my content to be retained for 90 days. It might be a regulatory requirement for you. So you can set that up in your channel. And then when the data pruner runs, it will go to this channel and will prune content older than 90 days. And it'll do that every day at midnight. So that's another option for you if you still want to keep message data for X amount of days, but then after that, you want to make sure to prune it so that your database doesn't grow without bounds. So there's a few different options there. So that's...
And this affects attachments as well?
Yeah.
Okay. The other part of the question is when I have attachments moving across several channels, what are the appropriate settings for the starting channel and subsequent channels?
So when you send messages across a channel, it depends on how you are sending that attachment data. When you are sending from one channel to another, you typically, what happens is that on your destination side of your upstream channel, you're going to be sending, or the data that you're sending to the second channel is going to be whatever you put in that outbound template of your channel writer, for example. And so if there's an attachment token in that data, like it could be an attachment token in an HL7 message, for example, that will be automatically reattached before it gets sent to the downstream channel. So the downstream channel is going to get the full entire message with everything reattached and all that stuff. Then on the downstream channel, you can take that data and pull it out again into a new attachment on that new channel. So as far as the settings that you'd want to set, it's basically going to be, typically it's going to be the same on both of your channels. If you want the data, like some large PDF blob or something that's in an HL7 message, if you want that data to be extracted into attachment on all of your channels, if it's flowing from channel 1 to channel 2 and you want both of those to extract attachments, then you'd want to set up the same settings on both channels. And what I mean by that is in your channel summary tab, there's the attachment option there. And for HL7, for example, you might want to do like a regex attachment that pulls a specific HL7 field out.
So it's necessary to set all the settings on each channel. It
If you
seems
want,
like
if you want
if
each
one
channel
of
to
the
be to
attachments
extract it,
is-
yeah. Yeah,
Go
if you
ahead,
want
Nick.
each channel, if you want each channel to extract attachments, then yeah.
But if I extract it once, why do I have to reattach and re-extract?
You don't necessarily have to. It depends on what you want to send to the downstream channel. So if you extract it once in the upstream channel, then on the downstream channel, there is a way to be able to call out in either in JavaScript or in the velocity replacement templates to be able to reference an attachment data from another channel as well. So you don't necessarily have to reattach and then re-extract, reattach and re-extract. You don't have to do that either. There is some instructions on that as well in the user guide, but there's also some instructions on, there's a nice like article on the forums about this as well, which you might want to take a look at, and it goes through those attachment formats as well. And let me go ahead and there's like a whole section, there's a subsection in there about cross-channel attachments as well. So I'll go ahead and link that.
Yeah, we've
in
got
the-
that forum link already in the chat
Oh,
for this
okay, cool.
question. So thanks for whoever, Paul, looks like you posted that, so
Yeah,
appreciate
Paul
that
posted
one.
that. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, let us know if those paths aren't getting to where you need to be. We have some others with their hand raised. It looks like Neil.
Yeah.
Unmute. Yeah, there we go.
Hello, Kevin. Hey,
there.
follow up with what Nick said, because sometimes it's a little bit, I don't want to say deceiving, but when you remove content upon a successful send, it does not save the space on the table because that space is still retained. It's just empty for other things to fill up. The only way to get that space, the table space reduced, is either through pruning or vacuums or a complete truncate. Is that true?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it does not reclaim space. It just prevents the database space from growing without bounds.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Great.
Thanks,
Good
Neil.
question. Thank you.
Well, we had another gentleman. Hopefully we didn't put him on hold too long. Who else had their hand up here?
Yeah, it was. I only saw two of them. It was Rick and Neil at that point.
Yeah, well, Rick, if you're out there and still want to drop a question, just raise your hand again. Sorry, I didn't get to you quick. Okay.
That's okay. I have the answer with the attachment.
Okay. Oh, that was okay. Same question.
Yep,
Okay.
yep.
Got it. All right. Any last thoughts, Alan, Nick, Jackie, you're on here too. Eric, thanks for your addressing any of the training questions. Seem to have a lot of interest in just getting more information there. So thanks for doing that. But without, here we have a couple here, Alan.
Yeah, I see there's more questions, and there's like a few of them that are just look like, you know, things for us to consider on the roadmap, on future roadmap for features and stuff. One of them is RabbitMQ. We do support JMS. So I think RabbitMQ is an AMQP version, which we don't have a connector for today, but I forget if that has a JMS driver for that. If so, then you can just use that connection factory with our JMS connectors, because you can use a custom JMS connection factory class. So I'm not sure about that because I'm not a RabbitMQ expert on that, but that may be possible today. And then on the let's see, another one is JWT generator. So something where if you're working on an HTTP connector, for example, you may want an easy ability to, you know, set up Java security keys or other JWT security tokens, stuff like that. It kind of goes along with like OAuth as well. Like maybe there could be easier ways to generate OAuth tokens or set up a refresh token, access token for OAuth as well. Then another one was an improvement suggestion for allowing HTTP listeners, basically multiple HTTP listeners using the same port. That one's a bigger one. That one's like a lot harder to do just because of the way we're using Jetty across multiple channels. It's not impossible. It's just that would be a kind of a big lift to do. But yeah, just wanted to point out a few of those just for
Thanks, Nick.
roadmap planning purposes.
Got him.
Right. Last call. Anybody on the line that wants to raise their hand and ask a question?
There's one in here from Kezia. Is there an option to set up some type of file level alerts, right? It had an instance where some config files were wiped out and no one knew. Any thoughts on that, team?
I know when you update settings within Connect, there are events that are associated with that, but there's no events if you go directly to the file system and update something in like your mirth.properties file. There's no events within Mirth Connect on that because it's not checking for that today. Maybe there could be something like that at the operating system level. If there's some, you know, versioning or something that's, you know, Windows or Linux has enabled, you have that enabled on your file system, you know, like a time machine or something like that on your files, and maybe that would be possible to see who edited a file and when. But as far as Mirth Connect goes, it does not look at any, you know, anything like that if you edit something directly on the file system.
Thanks, Nick.
Thank you. I'm not seeing any new comments come in on the chat. I'm not seeing anybody's hand raised. I think, Kevin, I wonder if we can
let's
call it at this point.
One hand up here, Paul.
Yeah, just wondering if you could provide a little more visibility into your AMI on AWS. I mean, other vendors seem to be putting up AMIs, and of course, installing Mirth publicly facing is not a great idea. Sort of what's the philosophy and what's actually included in that AMI? Any extensions? You know, I see the incremental cost over EC2, all that sort of thing.
Well, glad to have Nick here, who actually runs the technical side of generating those AMIs, but from just what's available, we've put the OSS core version out there, and we just have a lot of AWS customers that use AWS as their cloud service provider. NextGen included uses that. There is a second AMI out there that does have 3 extensions included: message generator, channel, history, and 1 others. And one thing I'm looking for is from our AWS base, is what other things do you think is valuable to have? One path I'm exploring is a deeper integration with HealthLake. Potentially providing kind of off-the-shelf, Fire channels, connectors into the HealthLake repository, and how do we make it? And so we work with our AWS peers to see what else is meaningful to those that use that service provider. We don't put a whole lot of effort. We could put dozens of AMIs out there. I think for now we're just trying to evaluate, how much it's being used, and then what those users would like to see to continue being users, right? I mean, there's some advantages for those AWS customers to have all the billing occur through their normal, AWS tenant and such. So there are a lot of cloud providers we could go that path with, and we may extend to others as well, just to make it easy. Now, on the technical side, Nick, do you want to talk about the compiling of it?
Yeah, to answer the question, like what's in it, it's basically an Amazon Linux box that has Postgres on it, and also has Mirth Connect on it, that specific version of Mirth Connect, depending on which version you choose. I believe right now it's at 4.4.2, and the 4.5 one is currently in the process of being rolled out. There's like a little bit of a delay because it has to go through AWS's controls in order to roll that out, but that's coming very soon. And there's 2 different essentially AMIs. There's the open source AMI, which just has Mirth Connect and Postgres on it, and then the AMI with extensions, which has Postgres, Mirth Connect, and then also it has the SSL manager extension, the channel history extension, and the message generator extension. So it has those 3 extensions as well. So those basically, there's just 2 different AMIs. But other than that, it's a pretty standard box. It has, we kind of did a lot of testing around like what tuning to have at like making sure to enable swap file, and basically we have it set up so that Mirth Connect by default is configured to use 50% of the available RAM. So no matter what instance type that you choose, whether it's like an M5 large or M5 8X large, it'll be configured to use basically half of that memory by default, and then the rest is for OS and Postgres and whatever else. It also has some easy utilities that you can use in your usage data script. So when you deploy an AMI, you can use some with just a couple of lines. You can easily set whatever you need to in Mirth.properties. You can even pull something from secrets manager, like if you have a database password. If you want to point Mirth Connect to your own database, you can easily do that as well by setting the database settings in Mirth.properties. And then you can even pull like a sensitive information from something else like Amazon Secrets Manager. So you can do that within that use data script as well. And all of that, we have like a whole sample script that shows exactly how to do all that on the AMI details page as well. Yeah, that's basically in a nutshell what it is. Just another deployment option for Mirth Connect, essentially.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nick.
Right there. There is a question. Any plans on integrating AI in Mirth Connect? We talk about it all the time, trying to what makes sense and what would that actually look like. I think is where we we talk about and try to find the what value that would bring. So No plans just yet, but certainly, you know, we talk about that quite a bit as to when's the right time to dabble in that and integrate AI into it. So any suggestions folks have on anything they'd like to see related to that, please let us know. We'll continue to chat about that. Kevin, I don't know if there's anything else you may have wanted to add to that.
No, but yeah, the answer is yes. We're constantly thinking about potential impacts of AI in a Mirth world. Channel development, more on the NLP side of reading, you know, the more of the content of messages coming in, for more terminology like services. So lots of options and ways. And I think our objective here over the last, you know, 2 releases, really 2 or 3, is we're trying to make these easier to upgrade, right? So we have less comments like we have from Jorg, who says, don't touch your running system, right? Like, we want to be increase your confidence that, hey, you can apply this update. You've had transparency well and ahead through our code drops when there are library changes or other things that may impact something that you've customized or just are impactful to your workflows and your workloads. We want everyone to try to stay current, right? And to do that, we need to make things easier to upgrade. So we're focusing on that, and we've spent a lot of time there. I think we'll see with 4.6 plus, and then really with our job update here that we teased with 4.7, starting to get into these. Hey, how could I plug in AI, and do I want to do that natively in our application, or do we want to be an enabler for you to do that, make it easier for you to figure out your use case, right? And bring some options to the table. So it's a fun world to talk about, but no commitments yet. Stay tuned. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Kevin. Looks like it's slowing down again there, so not no additional questions. We are running up to about 8 minutes left. Any final questions or comments? Let's hear them. Otherwise, we can close this out for today.
Yeah. Excellent. Alan, Nick, team, Jackie, thanks for pulling us together. Attendees, community, it's good to hear from everyone again. We'll share the webinar link. This is recorded, so we'll make that available. I think we normally make that available in the community, right, Alan? I can't remember exactly where, but we'll make it available. Anyways, thanks again, and we're going to continue doing this and hopefully do some with more frequency. So appreciate your first 15 minutes being listeners, and then your engagement here over the last, you know, half hour or so. So talk soon. Thanks again.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.